Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, Michael Rearden.
I recall this story of a woman entrepreneur. She was younger and she had a mentor that was a lot older. And this a lot older mentor had all of the things that this young woman wanted. The fame, the money, the success. And she was doing everything and she did quite well. She made her first $1 million. And it's a huge hurdle to get your first million. But once you get your first million, it's like easy cake after that, because now that limit in your mind saying that you want this $1 million has been attained. So now you see it as doable. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But she reached this milestone and then she felt like she hit a plateau. And she went to the mentor and she says, I made $1 million and I hit this plateau. And I want to be successful like you. You have all of this money and all this fame, and yet I'm still this insignificant person. Of course, talking about her significance, of course, we know she's not, but she believed that she was. The mentor gave her some of the best advice ever. She said, sweetheart, baby, you're walking too softly. You have to be loud. You have to get loud. And from that point, her mindset had shifted from someone who was always trying to play it safe, make everyone happy, to someone who was going to be loud, make a name for themselves, and they didn't care who was in front of them. There's a saying, protect the people who are behind you, respect the people who are beside you, and to defeat the enemies that are in front of you. Sometimes when we see people in front of us, we try to make them our friend. But then they say that if you are always trying to make people like you, you're not going to like yourself at some point, because you forget what and who you truly are, what you're capable of. Most people, they give themselves this idea of a lofty goal, right? They want $1 million. Even when my mentor in 2017, he would have, people he would work with, because he's retired at the time. So he's helping young individuals and entrepreneurs and, business people come up in the ranks. Most people, he speaks with, they're like, I want $1 million a year. I want to make $1 million or whatever it be. And he's always laughing because it's always the $1 million mark. Even with me, I thought about $1 million, but then it was like more like 150,000 or 120,000, whatever the number was. It was 80 at the time, but then I had slowly been building myself up to the point where I can say we're in the six figures, in the low six figures. And to that, he was kind of like, oh, I'm trying to make my life as true as possible versus everyone else is saying you need $1 million. Well, I know that if I want to make some change, if I want to, grow and be a better person, I need to do one important thing. And that is, if I want to be great, I can't tread softly. I have to be loud. And if I can't be loud, I have to figure out how to be loud. And you have to figure out what's holding you back. This is something that many people don't realize. What's holding you back from that $1 million mark to get there, right? It could be poor financial literacy, bad spending habits, not investing in yourself first, and then in this, you could do stock markets, whatever, right? You don't have to do stock market, right? But investing in yourself. When's the last time you invested in yourself? And I'm not talking about a spa day. I'm not talking about getting a BBL or some Botox or, whatever you do to your face or your nails or your body, right? I'm talking about investing yourself in your personal and professional development. When's the last time? Can you even remember? It could be just buying a book. Did you buy a book that you said, I'm going to read this book? And did you read the book that you bought? that you purchased, or is it sitting there collecting dust? You'd even start. And if you haven't started yet, go check out the blog. Just start, because you need to start. So these people who are trying to figure out their life, trying to make a name for themselves, they're not even doing the bare minimum. They are not even doing what they need to do. And they're wondering why they don't have the life that they want. It's crazy to me, but I understand. Because typically, like if you talk to like an accountant, financial advisor, things along those lines, like people who play the lotto, it's like a 1 in 300 million chance that you win, but yet people do. So typically poor people, and I say poor people loosely, but I'm just going to use the word poor people. These individuals will spend maybe $400 a year or something on it. Let's times that money by 10, right? You get the number. Let's times it by 20, you get the number. By 30, you get the number. Imagine if we put that $400 a year in an investment account, and while it compounded for 30 years, that's like winning the lotto there. But yet we would rather get that quick fix. We want to dream. And this is where people who play the lotto, they get the biggest rise. And it's not so much about that they lose so often. It's about that they possibly can win. And in life, we can win. It's not about being possible. It's possible. We see people do it all the time. We know in our mind it is possible to win. But yet we kind of just hold on to this dream of it is possible to do something that's seemingly almost impossible. And yes, people win all the time. But are you that one person in 300 million? Versus there's a 50-50 chance right now that you can be successful. I'm going to tell you how you do it. There's a 50-50 chance that you can win right now, today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. There's a 50-50 chance. And it depends on you. If you are going to be a person that's just going to haphazardly do things in life, and you're just going to leave it up to luck and leave it up to chance, and you're not going to take action, you're not going to start, you're not going to define your goals, you're not going to go after the things that you want, you're not going to stay committed and consistent to what you truly want in life, you're not going to get it. You're going to be that 50% that lose every single time. Now, look at the opposite. You want to be the person that wins in that 50%? You're going to be committed. You're going to be dedicated. You're going to have definitive goals and dates that you're going to go after. And you're not going to stop until you get them. You're going to get loud. You're not going to just simply tiptoe. You're not going to simply stay quiet until you're struggling for air, until you're grasping life and you're just begging for another second when you have all of your life ahead of you. You wait to the last moment to, hold on to life. I read about a touching story. It was on Facebook the other day. And it was a elderly couple where the woman was dying and she was on the sofa. The husband had seen her not doing well. She was having a hard time breathing. She wasn't looking right, more pale. And the husband was like, I'm going to call the doctor. And the woman says, no. I just want to go to sleep quietly. She didn't want to fight anymore. And it wasn't that she gave up. It was that she accepted peace. So she said, I just want to sit here, lay here with you, holding my hand. And that's what they did. They held hands and they talked about the past, the good times, maybe even some of the bad times. And then she slowly went to sleep. She was at rest. The story is not so much of one where we need to feel bad because death occurred. It's one that we can pay attention that life happened. Those two people who found love, who created a life together. That was not something that just happened. because our relationships today, our world today, it's like, if it works, it works. If it's for a moment, it's for a moment. I'm not in this for a lifetime. I'm in this for a moment. And most people, they look for momentary pleasures and happiness and comfort. And that doesn't lead to longevity. That doesn't lead to something substantial. That love that they had for each other was something substantial. Yet today, if someone falls apart, if there's some type of financial constraint in a house, yes, it can cause stress, it can cause anxiety, it can cause some marital problems, but it's not something that you just have to throw out a relationship for, or something that you can work through. And oftentimes when people, come into my office, or they are not here in Texas and they, work remote with me, one of the things that we're doing is we're looking at what needs repair first. What needs to be fixed? Let's look at what needs to be fixed. I have a saying, or I have a reference. Let's stop the bleeding, right? Because if we're bleeding cash, if we're bleeding happiness, or we're bleeding whatever, right? We need to stop that, because we need to start to repair. And then from there, we can mend, we can fix, heal, and then build. Our end goal is building. Sometimes people, they have a hard time understanding that they have to heal first. It's like you break your leg and you're like, okay, I'm still going to run my marathon. No, you're going to heal first. You're going to get better. And then from there, you can run 50 marathons. Let's focus on what we need to do right now. If you are a person that is even mildly successful, I mean, let's use a ballpark. You're making $50,000 a year. And if you are at that cusp, 45,000 around there, you can still consider yourself in this bracket, right? But I'm just going to use 50,000 as the blanket. We can use that 50,000 to leverage our growth and our potential. When is the last time you invested in yourself? Truly, when is the last time? Because it doesn't cost a lot to buy a book. Heck, you can go to the YouTube now and you can listen to motivational content. We have Motivation in Motion. We have all of these podcasts, which are free. So you can listen and you can immerse yourself in this content and in the mindset. Every day when you wake up, listen to a motivational saying, a motivational video, a podcast, or whatever. Build yourself up, invest in yourself, and use that time to invest in yourself. I understand it could be tempting to check your social media in the morning. I got to see who liked my photo. I got to see, who is over here doing what on the news. And you're in everyone else's life but your own. I encourage you, if you want to be on social media, cool, do it at a time when your day is done. You have already succeeded in your day. It could be in the evening, maybe. All right. I don't know. But typically in the evenings, you don't even want to do that. So maybe reserve it for like a Friday night with your friends, if you're like one of those people who like to go out. But then again, at the same time, you don't even need social media like that and to be connected with all the drama. Again, I understand the brain's attracted to that. You want to be, of course, aware of what's going on in the world, but you do not want to be so immersed that you become distracted in going after what you should be going after. You have to get loud, but not so much loud in the sense of, I'm going to be a keyboard warrior and I'm going to tell people what I feel about this and I'm going to spend the whole day doing it. Hey, if you want to do that, is there a purpose for that? I know when I do it like on X and on Twitter, Mindset OD is that type of mentality. So I would typically do one day of social media. And then I have a whole team of social media people who do social media for me. So one day I'll spend on social media. And that's when I do Mindset OD. So Mindset OD is the live show, the live transmission that we do on X currently. Instagram, I don't know if I'm going to do it on Instagram. I'm going to post my motivational stuff, my content on Instagram. One of my posts, they didn't get approved because it was too political. It was so interesting because we didn't even necessarily talk about politics. It was more of wishing well to the political party. And it's like, nope, can't have that, because during an election year, Facebook or Meta, they're very strict on what type of content goes out. So I'm not going to use that platform. I'm not going to worry about that platform. That's one less social media thing for me to worry about. So I'm going to worry about what I need to worry about. I'm going to focus on what I need to do, what needs my attention right now, what's going to help me make the loudest and most prominent step forward. I don't know, but what I can tell you is I need to remain consistent. So what I'm doing, if you're doing something and you're making your way and you know you're making your way, good. If you need to add things to elevate it, good. Let's add some things. Get some help, a mentor, a business coach, whatever you need. Keep elevating yourself. For the individuals who are having a hard time with, getting their name out there, of course there's methods. I know there's a lot of people who want to come to podcast and they hope that, we're going to go on the podcast and we're going to get all of your listeners to buy my book and to do things. And I mean, yes, sure. I'm sure they'll buy your book. But at the same time, like, did you give them a reason to buy your book? Because I've been in, front of millions of people on people's platforms, and I'm not necessarily looking for anything. I'm just saying, hey, come check out my website, get some free content, take it and leave it. This is something for you to enhance yourself. This is not, for me to make $1. I understand that there's a financial commitment for certain types of coaching if you want to go that route, but you could read blogs, you could listen to the podcast, you can get the coaching that way. It works. All right. It's just that sometimes I might not be speaking to you because I don't know you. I don't know your situation. So you have to kind of take what I say that is going to be a neutral type of thing that's going to fit many molds, and you have to apply it personally to your life. Okay. Of course, if you need some guidance, some help, you can sign up for a consultation, and that typically is enough. I remember I had one gentleman, this was years ago now. He was trying to figure out a career change, and he had like 3 or 4 different options, and he was telling me all of these different options, and I was like, well, this is what you should do. And he's a hoot, this guy. He was talking and doing consultations with different life coaches from all over. So he would do a consultation with this person, a consultation with this person. And before you know it, I think I was like number 5 or something. He basically said at the end of it, he goes, well, this was the best consultation that I had so far. And it's been, and you're like my 5th person. And I'm like, well, keep it going if you want to. But at the same time, you need to figure out what you need to do and take action. It's not so much about keep asking people. It's about, hey, let's figure this out. And the only reason I believe that he was able to say that I gave him the best advice is because, number 1, I listened. And number 2, I gave him the pros and the cons for each of those different things that he was looking at. And then I asked him what was his end goal. And then he was basically telling me his end goal. And I said, these are going to be your most viable things to help you get your end goal a lot sooner. And it's going to probably bring about the most happiness after speaking to you for only 30 minutes. Of course, I don't know him, the ins and outs and things like the nuances of the person, but you can get a good read on people. Most of the time, when people are trying to show themselves to another person, they have 2 options. They can be an open book or they can be a mystery. Doesn't matter what you are, we're going to find out who you are. The mysteries are always enjoyable because you have to ask clarifying questions to find out who they are. The open book people, you just kind of listen and you find the holes in their thinking. Those are the easiest ones to work with. But it doesn't necessarily matter if you're hard or you're easy to work with. What matters is if you're trying to do something and, make your life better, you're trying to get loud and, make a place for you in history, do you do it? And sometimes, people, they have a hard time committing and remaining consistent because oftentimes they're that proponent in their life that is the obstacle. They hold themselves back. All right. I'm supposed to lose some weight, but I'm going to go eat some ice cream. I'm going to go get some pizza. Or I'm supposed to, be looking for a new career, but I'm going to go on social media, or I'm going to go play video games, or I'm going to go out with my friends and go get turned up. Whatever it be, right? Are those things distracting you? Oftentimes they are. And even though you turn up at the club, it's only a whisper to how you can turn up in life. How do you show up when everything seems so appealing immediately? I can go to a club and get drunk and feel good for the night, or I can, listen to some motivational stuff and read some personal development books, or I can, build my company. It doesn't sound too fun, but the people who do the things that are daunting or more challenging today can celebrate like no one else later on. Dave Ramsey, he has a saying, live like nobody so one day you can live like no one, or you can live like nobody else. Because a nobody is like someone who's like living in a cardboard box, but he doesn't necessarily mean you live in a cardboard box, but he's basically saying just buy some rice and beans and you eat that. You are frugal and you stay committed to the baby steps. He has baby steps, and you make your way up the financial ladder until you get to like baby step 5 or whatever it is. Then there's another aspect of not so much of we limit ourselves, but we remain hardworking. I'm sure you probably know about the story of like the ants and the grasshopper, right? Most people know about the story. It's a kid's story. I think it's a music video or a kid's video that you probably might have heard or seen or known growing up. The story goes very simple. The grasshopper was all about play. He wanted to play his trumpet or his drums or whatever he was playing. Sometimes it's different per story, but he just wanted to play. And it was summertime. And he's like, it's summer. You're supposed to have fun. He's telling the ants, come on, let's have fun. Let's dance. And the ants are like, sorry, we can't do this. We have to get ready for winter. And I'm like, they're getting ready for winter and it's summer. Think of like summer school, right? Or like summer vacation. Everyone's like, oh, summer vacation. I got to take it easy, right? I just work so hard. But summer can be that separator that separates you from everyone else. If you give yourself like, I'm going to work harder than everyone else, you're going to separate yourself from the crowd. And that's what you want to typically do. Well, either way, the ants are working and they're working all through summer. And then eventually autumn comes and there's less food for the grasshopper. And the grasshopper is starting to get cold. Then winter comes and the grasshopper's freezing. And he goes to the ants. He goes, ants, like, can you please let me in? It's so cold outside. And the ants was like, well, you didn't work in the summer. You just wanted to play and do all these things. And you didn't want to, focus on, that, what's to come. And the grasshopper was like, I understand my mistake. And then the ants let him in and they had a big party in the winter and they were eating and they were dancing. They were doing everything the grasshopper was doing in the summer. And then comes spring and then comes summer again. Guess who's working? The grasshopper. The grasshopper is working now. He learned that it's not so much about, okay, when it's time to work, and it's a benefit for me to work, maybe for a rainy day coming, right? The winter is coming. I'm sure you probably know if you ever watched Game of Thrones, winter is coming, right? It's the same concept. We need to get ready for the war. We need to get ready for inclement weather. We need to make sure that we are good. We need to make sure that we are loud when we need to be loud. And then we can be relaxing on a beach in Dubai or wherever you want to be. And we can be as quiet as we want then. We make the noise when we need to make the noise. Even Kobe, he had a training regimen where he would train 3 times a day versus everyone else's 2 times a day. And then when people would come out, Kobe was already warmed up. He already trained. He already practiced. And everyone's like, did you just practice? And he's like, yeah, I practiced already. And then, of course, some people would try to follow him and do 3. He goes, well, I'm going to do 4. And it's like, well, you doing 4. Okay, cool. I'm going to do 4 too. He's like, well, you do 4. I'm going to do 5. And then so it was always that competition where people couldn't keep up with him because he was always one-upping them. And he knew as long as he one-upped them, no one can ever reach his level. Of course, with age and time, of course, people can become great. But to what magnitude does that happen? Does it happen slowly? You're at a low level magnitude, or you're at an 8.0 Richter scale and you're knocking down buildings? It depends. But what I have to tell you once more is you have to get loud and in the things or toward the things that are important for you. Because if you are just going to haphazardly say, you know what? I want this in my life, but I'm not willing to do everything in order to get it. Then you're just going to be someone who's in that constant ricochet of trying to do things and it gets bounced back to you, trying to try, something else and it gets bounced back. You're just going to, be in this confusion. And right now you need certainty. You need to understand your potential. You need to understand that if you are the person stopping you from reaching your true potential, you need to learn how to get out of your own way. What we do here at Reven Concepts is not only do we help people identify what they need to do, we help them get out of their mindset, their limiting beliefs, and out of their way for good. Because if you can be the person that is your biggest support, your biggest cheerleader, of course, we are your biggest cheerleaders too, but if you can be that person on a consistent day-to-day basis, you're going to find yourself in a better place. So continue to invest in yourself, continue to listen to the podcast, look at our coaching plans if you need coaching, and then from there, begin the process to get rid of the obstacle, which might be you, and then to stop walking so softly in life, tiptoeing, and get loud to the things that matter the most and are going to create the greatest and the most meaningful impact for you.